watch her go on this journey, create this thing this book called SalviYorkers, and be a part of it with her. And so thank you all for coming and joining us and being part of it as well. So I'm very grateful for just having anyone be here. And and I'm also bilingual, so I'm going to go flip-flop in Spanish and English just to make sure we're covering everyone, because there are also personas de El Salvador que están viendo aquí por Facebook. Y queremos estar también contextualmente, pensando culturalmente, que de dónde venimos y para dónde vamos. Entonces, yo soy también salvadoreño, no soy SalviYorker, I'm Salvi Miami, I guess, I don't know, something like that, pero my children, they're SalviYorkers. So this book has a lot of, el libro tiene mucha significancia para nosotros, contextualmente, porque sí vivimos lo que estamos compartiendo en este libro y nos da mucha felicidad poder compartirlos con todos ustedes. Y con eso quiero presentarles a Carmen Molina Tamacas, la autora de este libro, quien ha creado SalviYorkers, que ha sido una experiencia muy bonita de ver con tantas diferentes personas, con tantas diferentes narrativas, con tantas diferentes experiencias, de lo bueno y lo malo. Ha sido muy impresionante para mí. So it's been very poignant, it's been very significant to be part of the experience of Carmen writing this book, not just simply because I myself have got Salvadoran heritage, but my children are SalviYorkers. And so it's been amazing just contacting and being in touch with so many different people, and the story continues, which is wonderful. So without much further ado, I wanted, Carmen Molina Tamacas, the book author, and she wants to share with you what she has done here.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. I really appreciate, first, como dijo Celia Cruz, my English is not very good looking. So, but this is a very important place in this neighborhood. The Federation of Italian American Organization is a multicultural place, and we have people from all over the world here. And I know most of us are Salvadorians or Latinos, but for other people that they don't speak English, that they don't speak Spanish, I do the presentation in English. And of course, if anything, please, I can answer questions at any time. Thank you. Okay, so SalviYorkers, as my husband said, it's been quite of a journey. I started writing this book. I think the idea of writing the book is been growing along my experience as an immigrant. We moved from El Salvador almost 10 years ago, and we just have my daughter. She came very, very little, and I'm a journalist for my entire life since I started working in 1994, right after out of high school. So, and when I came here, I felt it was very shocking because I left my entire network, my family, my job. Please come on in. There are chairs everywhere. And then I had even though I was a correspondent for one of the most important El Salvador newspapers, I didn't know anybody here. So I had to start from zero, and one of the most and immediately I identified the lack of references and books and information about Salvadorians, and it was a big contradiction because there are so many Salvadorians here in New York, because there is no census, there is no official census from Salvadorians abroad. So the consulates, they estimate that there are maybe 500,000 Salvadorians in the three-state area. So, but most of them, they live in Long Island. We have many people from Long Island visiting today, and I really appreciate, hello. And but there are the lack of studies, the lack of books. There is just one book about. There are a couple of books that I know. One of them is it's an ethnography from American anthropologists, but it was written 30 years ago. So, and things have changed, Salvadorians have changed, but we don't know, and the book is in English and is not well known. So I felt the moral obligation of starting not just like a storage or my own archive of the articles that I was writing, but I felt morally obligated to give something to my country, and this is what I have done. This is a book that is not, even though I am I have a degree in anthropology, this is not an anthropology book. Jorge Colorado, he is an anthropologist. He can do a better anthropological research. And as a journalist, I combine the research with social studies background, and this is my third child, and I hope you guys have the opportunity to read, to criticize it, and also contribute. Por favor, entre. Don Alex is the janitor here, and he's a Salvadorian, so I hope he had the opportunity to join us later. Okay, so SalviYorkers is 90 years of stories about Salvadoran immigrants in New York. And it's curious because one of the most common questions that I got is, why 90 years and not 100 years? Well, because it will take 10 years more because I didn't know. And right after an interview with New York One in Spanish, I had a message on Facebook from one of the persons that is honoring me to be here today, saying, it's a shame that I didn't know about your project before, because my father came more than 100 years ago from El Salvador. So now I have the challenge to do a second edition of the book and going back 100 years. So thank you very much, Bernie, for joining us today. But this is what I have done, 90 years. So let's start. And for most of the people that don't know anything about El Salvador is one of the smallest countries in America, and the size is about 21,000 square kilometers, and it's almost the same size as New Jersey. It's called El Pulgarcito de América, even though this is not ¿cómo se dice que se atribuye a Gabriela Mistral? Yeah, it's not from Gabriela Mistral saying. It was Enrique Ávila, a Salvadorian author, who said that, ¿cómo se dice? He said this about El Salvador, El Pulgarcito de América. So it's a beautiful country, has so beautiful beaches and volcanoes. This is the Volcán de Izalco. El Salvador is so small, but has up to 23 volcanoes. Even they say that can be hundreds, and 10 of them are active. This is the Coatepeque Lake in Santa Ana. This is actually a volcano, and it's very dangerous. So it made a big explosion 1,000 years ago. About ethnicity, our people is from Maya, Nahua, Pipil, and Lenca, and other ethnical descendants. And Spaniards founded the first settlement in La Bermuda in 1528. Our country is very small, very beautiful, but it's also a violent country. These are pictures from the earthquake in 2001. There were 2 earthquakes. This is the picture at the left is the Las Colinas. This was a huge tragedy because they destroyed many houses. And the first earthquake was on January 13, and there was a second earthquake in February 13. So within a month, we had 2 big earthquakes. But our generation my generation, we have had like several earthquakes, hurricanes, and also, but maybe one of the most serious things that have happened in our country is the Civil War. The Civil War started in 1979 and until 1992, when the peace accords were signed between the government and the former guerrilla. And this was a tragedy for our country. There were many people, thousands of people displaced. Of course, these were very poor people from, especially in the northeast side of the country, near the border with Honduras. And that's why it's interesting, because most of the Salvadorians, or what we know in the mainstream media about Salvadorians, is that they moved. They flew to California, and they have established it in Los Angeles. But we know that there is a big settlement in Long Island. So this map is a little is too small, but we can see many of the towns that there is the presence of Salvadorians is huge. For example, especially in Suffolk and Nassau County, there are so many. We have Long Beach, we have Port Washington, Glen Cove, Brentwood, Hempstead, especially Central Islip, Wyandotte is North Bay Shore, and many of you are visiting us from there. But also there are many people in the New York City area. So, but we are very isolated one of each other. So, why Salvadorians came? So why we're so attracted? And this is a beautiful picture. I actually wanted this picture for the cover of my book. It was a fight. This is a fight that I had with my editor and my husband too, because even though it's a beautiful picture, it doesn't have the technical and other conceptual. It has conceptual and technical issues to be on the cover. But for me, it's beautiful because it's a mother who left her children behind. Actually, she was divorced from a violent man, and she just heard that there were jobs in New York, so she left. And she left her children, small children, with her mother. And this is a picture in one of the trips that she made just to establish here. This is in the back there is a plane from TACA International Airlines, the official airline from El Salvador. Now it's Avianca, if you have heard of that. And her son is a very important artist and archaeologist. His name is Fabio Amador, and after I knew him from his archaeological job in El Salvador, but I didn't know his story, how being an immigrant, a teenager immigrant in the 70s, and it was very tough for them. So why Salvadorians came? So they came to Long Island in the 60s, attracted for jobs around the military and aerospace industry. And those industries were established after the war. So women worked as housekeepers and babysitters, and men worked in landscaping, construction, and cleaning. And of course, snow cleaning in the winter. All of them, they struggled to get legal status. Many of them had a temporary protected status from the 90s for several years, but this is a program that was canceled by the Trump administration. So if you are able to get a copy of my book, you will find more information about how, why people just say that, but why people, they take so many risks to come to this country illegally and bring in their child. So you have to learn how the foreign policy of the United States have played in the role that the United States have played in, not just in El Salvador, but in other Latin American countries, and disrupting politics, and especially during the war. This is during the 80s and the 90s. So with the millions of dollars in military aid, so it destroyed the society, it destroyed the industry, and it was our country was torn apart. Okay, so why SalviYorkers? So this is very interesting because I didn't create the word SalviYorkers. I saw the term somewhere, somehow in social media. We know how powerful social media is, especially for the young people, and for many Salvadorians is unknown why we are called Salvis, because we are best known as Salvadorians or Salvadorans and guanacos, cipotes, cipotas, but this is a thing that needs to be studied by the academia, and I put it there, and this is a term that it has two words: Salvi from Salvadorian and Yorkers from New Yorker. So, and it's the story of how we got into this title for the book is also a family and specifically a couple thing with my husband, because the title that I worked with, it was it was 40 years of Salvadorian immigration in New York, because that was the information that I have. 40 years back in time, not much. Then were 60 years, and then I got one of the most the oldest story was 19 years. Okay, 90 years of Salvadorian immigration in New York. And then for the last 2 years, the title that I worked with was Salvadorians by birth, New Yorkers by adoption. Even though I love that title, I won't be able to sell any book, because this is not catchy. It doesn't. I don't know. So at the book was done. My editor, he is Dominican Cuban editor and writer. He lives in Miami. He wanted to kill me because we have done the proofs, we had the design. He created the concept of the cover, but suddenly one night we were working on the marketing side with the social media handles. So, and I told my husband, so I have a problem with the Facebook because it's too long. I need to pick one short. What is the Instagram account? So the Instagram is SalviYorkers. So, Carmen, the book title needs to be SalviYorker. Imposible. For me, it was like, no. And my editor was so upset. So, but now I understand. So it took like a couple of days for me to process the change. because it's like a maternity analogic thing that I was carrying. So this is the longest pregnancy that I have, 5 years, more than 5 years. So, and then I'm carrying this child, and I gave birth during the holidays. I was exhausted. Hello? I was exhausted, like emotionally drained of giving birth. And then my husband just take the child and go to the registry and put the name. So it was like, okay, but I give the credit to him. And it works. Even it's funny because many of the people that have bought the book, they have come from into the social media, and it's curious. It's even more curious because many of I can see the statistics in my visitors, and many of them are from California. So why are Salvadorians in California so interested in SalviYorkers? I don't know, but they are buying the book. So, and for me that is great, and they contact me and they are telling me their stories, horror stories about how their families immigrate here and all the challenges that they have had in their life. So it's interesting. So what's the book? So part one is a journalistic historical essay that profiles the Latino American immigrants in New York, and part two is a showcase of prominent Salvadorans and their accomplishment in culture, art, science, small businesses, politics, and beyond. And I am very glad that many of the people that is profiled in the book is here today. Jorge, he's an anthropologist. Juan Carlos Guerra is a composer and pianist. Araceli is a dance and music teacher. And also we have Carlos Guadron. He is the host of Salvis Unidos NYC podcast. It's entitled in English, and I know that our episode was the first one in Spanish, and it's a blast. And the third section is a compilation of stories reported and research that tell when, how, and why the protagonist emigrated and chose New York as New York as home. Because we are in Brooklyn, I'm gonna tell. I picked some of the stories that take place in Brooklyn. The oldest story yet in the book is about an Italian Salvadorian optician named Americo Oriani and his family. They came by boat. They sailed from Puerto Cortes in Honduras, and they arrived in September. It was Labor Day, September 2nd, 1929. It's a beautiful picture of Americo and Berta Oriani. The Oriani family lived first in Brighton Beach. Great. And then in Church Avenue, and he worked in Wall Street, and it was he worked in Wall Street and it's amazing because how I came across his story is because one of my dear friend Maria Barrera, she's from Ecuador and she's a researcher, and she helped me with some of the documents. And then because the Oriani is not common, and because they established a pharmacy at the beginning of the 19th century, the 20th century in El Salvador. So it happens that one of the editors in my former newspaper was from this family, and they have his memory that was published in 1975. It was a very small publication with his memories. His entire memory was published a couple of, I think, 3 years before he died, in English. And he was a very educated person, and his family wants to keep the memory private, and it's a shame for me because it's amazing how he describes living in New York in the 30s, during the war, after the war, and 60s and the 70s. He was an entrepreneur and worked in the academia and patented. Marcos, bienvenido. Siéntese. He worked in the academia and patented machinery for contact lenses. He had many patents for contact lenses. And it's interesting because when he came, even though he was Salvadorian, he claimed his Italian citizenship. And that's why he wasn't able to get his citizenship, his American citizenship, until 1944, because he endured racism for being an Italian. Because during the war, he was an alien enemy, right? And this is many of the. You will see some familiar faces today from Salvadorian artists living in Brooklyn. We have Juan Carlos Guerra, he is a composer and pianist, and Juana Ramos, she is a scholar and a writer. Armando Martinez, he is a musician, and the picture. The picture from the walls is from an artist named Guadalupe Maravilla, and he's very important. His work has been selected as welcome, bienvenidos, pasen adelante. One of his sculptures have been selected for the Metropolitan Museum of Art for the collection. And this is, and the picture at the right is from one of the traditional dancers from Long Island. Here we have the honor of having one of the most successful from Salvadorian traditional food business owner. His name is Marcos Laínez, por favor. He has a food truck in Red Hook, and they have a story. They have so many stories how they came in this industry. These are oversized pupusas. The pupusas is the Salvadorian traditional dish, but they are very, very small. These are super-sized pupusas. They have been profiled in programs and magazines and TV shows, and they have won. You won the Vendy Awards. The Vendy Award. Okay, so this is a prize that they get in a competition from street food in New York. The best street food in New York. We have one of the awarded people. Okay, so there are so many stories that I don't want to get tired of listen to me. So this is hard for me because this poem I wrote in Spanish, of course, and I got it translated as a part of the work that the translator is doing to get this book translated into English, maybe by the end of this year. And one of the things is getting a person that is able to capture my voice, and poems are especially not easy to translate, so I'm gonna try. The pianist searched for the poem, which aids in removing the thorn. or perhaps to embed it with even more force, and to burst the vein, the tissue to bleed, so comfort will then flow. The poet discovers a thread, making a braid out of hemp and ojo de venado seed, while twice the scarf around due to the cold that grips, the skin breaks, olive and lacking balsam. The pianist and the poet coincide, carving the score with ink of volcanic sand, and close their eyes. Roots sink into paper memories. In intimacy, there are no muses, only the smell of a squash, morro, husk, and banana leaf. The hemp untangled, turning a patch of October sky to the hole of the amulet sock. Both cry without complaining on the fortune of exile. Thank you. What I want to do with this book is tell one of my bosses. I work in the Weather Channel, and one of my bosses asked me what is my objective of writing this book, and I spent like 3 days trying to answer him the question. And he asked me if I want to change the narrative, the bad narrative about Salvadorians in the stream media, because Salvadorians are associated with war, with gangs, with violence, and etc. So what I just want to say is that Salvadorians have been in New York for many years and are part of the society's fabric. This is I've been very lucky of having so much coverage in El Salvador and other newspapers, here El Diario, and this article in English just came out a couple of days ago. You can check on that. And the best thing for me, getting to know people that is contacting me on Instagram, especially Instagram, because it's how people is socializing now. And I keep searching and I keep discovering so many interesting things about Salvadorians here. I missed people, I missed artists, I missed this poet. His last name is Zamora. I don't know if you, Juana, you know him. I missed him. I didn't know his. I didn't know. I might know him, but I didn't. Javier Zamora. But his website says it's in Harlem, so I don't know. Yeah. Oh, okay. So it's but the good things about the book. A book, it has a beginning and an end. So, and my editor said no. You have to stop, because if you want to get this book published, you have to stop, and we are working with this. And later you can make changes. But now, and I have so many stories, new stories, and I think I mentioned at the beginning that. Mr. Bernie contacted me right after the New York One story came out, is because he gave me hints of information about his father. His father came, and we just discovered documents of he crossing the border from Nuevo Laredo, Texas, in 1918. So that it is more than 100 years, and he spent like a couple of years working here and there. He worked in the fort in Ohio, Detroit, Michigan. So, and it seems like he has some quite of stories about joining the Mexican Revolutionary Army before, and he came and he had an amazing interesting story working as a sailor. No, merchant marine during the war. So, and they were recognized as veterans 18 years after the war, right? More than that, after a big class action lawsuit, 1988. Wow. So the second edition, I promise today that will be 100 years of not solitude, but history of Salvadorians in New York. And I hope that you can, for the non-Spanish speaking, I promise also that we will deliver the English version soon, maybe this year, I hope. And you can contact us. My email is carmen@salviyorkers.com. The website is salviyorkers.com. The book is available on Amazon that you can ship it, you can send it to your friends, or I think the only, and how Amazon works is that we just have like some books. I didn't print, we didn't do like a traditional, so Amazon ships directly, and even I have friends in Germany that they have been able to get a copy, and it's curious because it was printed in Poland. Maybe it's cheaper. I think only in Spain it's hard to get it. It's super expensive. I assume it's because of the particularities of the literature and the industry. So protected because it came up like more than 10 euro for the book. So it's like, and the digital is expensive because it's not considered a book. It's more like a device. I don't know. So, but for the lucky ones here in New York, and we have some copies, and we have for the launch at the very beginning of the year, we had the calendar, and it has some of the pictures of the book. And some of them they are not in the book. This is actually one of my editors in El Diario de Hoy, because he lived. His father was a secretary from the consulate in the 50s and the 60s. They lived here, and he was a SalviYorker, as he said. He said SalviYorker, not SalviYorker, and it was amazing. I was amazed because and the stories that he has been telling me about his memories living in New York. His mother picture is in the book. I want to tell you something about the cover of the book. It's a shame that I don't know if one of the Miss Jerónima Campos is here. I'm not sure. The book was already done, and we were working, as I mentioned in the cover. I want this picture so bad, but because of the size, the composition, the elements, it didn't work. So, and Diana Aguilar, she is a Salvadorian journalist. She lives in Islip, Long Island. Her mother-in-law is friends with Miss Jerónima's family. So, and she was hired to do the pictures for Miss Jerónima's 104 years birthday party. This was at the end of September last year. So, and she said to me, so this is very interesting. Maybe you can interview the family. It's amazing. Okay, so, and then I had the opportunity to speak to them, and it's very, and the story is very interesting. Sorry, I'm just hearing the kids in the back. What happened is that, so I did the interview, And okay, it's an amazing story of an elderly Salvadorian living in New York, and an authentic SalviYorker. But I was more interested in how her children came. She had 10 children, and some of the daughters came in the 60s, working, and they start working, as I mentioned, in this time. Before the war, some of the Salvadorians that came in the 60s, they came after the war between El Salvador and Honduras. So it's a lot of stories here. Okay, so, and then I made the interview, and very interesting. Okay, and then Diana, the photographer, she mentioned, and she went to the World Trade Center before the attacks. Oh, they didn't mention that to me. So I went back to the grandchildren and I asked them. So when she went to the World Trade Center, oh, we went there 2 days before the attacks. And he sent me the pictures of he scanned the pictures from the ticket. So this picture was taken in the observatory of the Twin Towers 2 days before the attacks on 9/11. So, and it's powerful. Anytime I tell the story, is like, because the story is so powerful, but the book was already done, and the story is not well. It's not that extensive as I wish, but this is, I think this is the only picture that is so powerful to be in the cover, and I wish you can appreciate the story. And thank you very much. And I promise for the next year maybe we will have the 100 years of Salvadorian immigrants in New York and the English version. Thank you, and please serve yourself some pan dulce, café. Thank you. If anyone have questions or comments, please. What? Yeah, we have discounted books. We have these are the last calendars, and the autograph is for free. ¿El qué? Okay.
So, thank you everyone. Okay, sure.
Por favor.
Buenas tardes, yo soy de Guatemala. Cuando leí un poquito del libro de un compañero de Guatemala que me lo dieron, soy parte de la formación política o comunitaria de los salvadoreños. Yo estaba en cero. En el 82 más o menos me junté con Chacón y con Miguel Ramírez y con otras personas de Long Island.
Miguel Ramírez está en el libro,
sí.
Y también Yanira Chacón, la hermana mayor de los Chacón.
Entonces, pero lo que sí quiero decir es que nosotros como guatemaltecos siempre admiramos a la comunidad salvadoreña, y me recuerdo mucho del libro Cito de América. Es pequeño, ¿verdad? Pero es gigante. Porque yo estaba en cero en lo que era conciencia social.
¿Qué significa cedo?
Nada. De conciencia social, y en un evento entonces cuando empezó lo de la residencia, antes decían, ¿sabe qué? Ahí hay un lugar de salvadoreños. ¿Dónde? En Long Island. Pero hay otro en Queens. No, pero hay otro a las 2 cuadras. Entonces empecé a conocer que los salvadoreños cuando llegaron aquí ya sabían de organización y lucha. Entonces la comunidad salvadoreña siempre ha sido organizada, y todo lo que ahora yo ya no veo muchos centros salvadoreños, pero sí los conozco a nivel nacional de Boston, todos los salvadoreños, porque se hizo una red grande de salvadoreños, y ahí nos metimos los poquitos que estábamos sin información, desorganizados. El Centro Guatemalteco de Comumán fuimos parte del grupo de Miguel guerra.
Tal vez mucho del trabajo, perdón que le interrumpa, tal vez mucho del trabajo se ha diluido, el trabajo organizativo, y el que cobró fuerza es el de la Alianza Nacional del TPS,
Sí.
que ese sí es nacional ahora.
Recuerdo cuando estaban en una reunión los Chacón y todos ellos, porque ha sido muchos años de lucha, bajo la nieve, caminando, cabildeando, los salvadoreños que iniciaron este movimiento del TPS, yo fui testigo, no soy salvadoreña, de la gran lucha y la gran organización que ha tenido. Es una parte de felicitarlos. Si nosotros hubiéramos tenido esto, hubiéramos tenido TPS, pero fuimos excluidos porque no sabíamos qué hacer, no teníamos un liderazgo. Los salvadoreños siempre han sido muy fuertes en su organización. Y sí los felicito porque inclusive esto, ahora hay lugares donde va la gente que no tiene documentos a buscar salud, pero esa ha sido lucha de los salvadoreños. Si uno va para atrás a pensar dónde se inició, es que no pegaran nada, si no hay lucha, ¿verdad? Y eso se ha hecho a raíz de los pioneros salvadoreños.
Gracias. Gracias.
¿Quieres poner el video de...?
Sí, ¿dónde está?
No sé si tienes el link. Y como tenemos, and since we have the opportunity to kind of share, because that's what this is really all about, is sharing, we also wanted to share a composition by
Juan Carlos
Juan
Guerra.
Carlos Guerra, who has composed music and had an orchestra in El Salvador play it, and we just want to share the first few minutes of his piece.
So you say? La apagaste, Jorge.